Today on Beyond Belief, es-tu brute? Let's get into it. Oh my gosh, guys, I am so glad you're here. I hope you've been having a fantastic week. I don't know about you. I think I said this last week, but man, it's been busy. It is. At my job, there's like 1 week of every month that is just it's a grind. I mean, it takes everything in you, and you're sending so many emails, and it's just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and you send the information you have, and then the customer has to get back to you with information they have, and it's a lot. It is a lot. And then obviously it's not just emails. Your phones are always blowing up because of course they would. Or if you're not busy, your phones don't ring, right? But no, it has been an absolute busy week. I don't know about you guys, but I am so ready for this weekend. Uh, I already know my Saturday is not going to look like this. I already know there's been plans and updates, and it's not going to look like this. But I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was like, oh, the perfect Saturday this weekend would be me at home, and I see no one. It would be the absolute perfect Saturday. And again, unfortunately, there's been plans come up, and so that's not what my Saturday is going to look like. But I'm still dreaming it. I don't know when that Saturday is going to happen. It's been a moment since I've had one of those, but I can't wait. Because sometimes you need that day where it's just you, yourself, and you. I could do a whole podcast episode on that. I ain't doing that today, though. No, today, as we said in the intro, es-tu brute? Which is obviously French for "and you, Brutus." And if you know anything about history, this is a quotation that references directly Julius Caesar and really his best friend Brutus. Let me give you a very very brief synopsis. If you're not aware, at one point Rome was governed by a senate, and there were several different armies of Rome, and each army had their own general. Julius Caesar was a general over a certain army in Rome at one point in time. He grew so powerful that the Senate was fearing that he would become an emperor and have more power than them. And so, what do they do? The Senate, including his best friend, plot the death of Julius Caesar on the Senate floor, and I don't remember the number of stabs, but he's literally stabbed to death um, by the whole Senate. Imagine that you have gained so much influence and power that the United States Congress has called you in, and then them and your best friend all stab you to death. That's essentially what happened to this dude, and this is historical. Like, it's the thing that actually happened. Um, and so again, the title of today's episode really is "Es-tu brute?" because it's always those closest to you that have the power to really hit you where it hurts, to take the life out of you in a way. And there's without naming too many names, there's been a situation at work for me personally, and there's this one individual, and man, I try real hard. I go above and beyond, in my opinion, and being nice, but I can't. They get on my last nerve every single day, it seems like sometimes. And the other day, there was a situation where really they had attempted to throw me under the bus. And, we don't have to go into the situation, but it inspired this episode because what happened is after the fact, this person then goes on to apologize several times. And, I started to realize one of the things that me personally, and maybe you're the same. You're watching this podcast. Maybe we have some of the same thoughts. At the end of the day, I'm okay if someone wants to turn their back on me, if they want to try to throw me under the bus, betray me. I am okay. I know it will hurt for a while, but it's something I can overcome. What I can't stand is someone who attempts to do such a thing and then they can't live with the feeling of guiltiness, and so they have to then approach the person that they just tried to backstab or betray and apologize repeatedly. And I was thinking about this as I was walking to my car today, and it made me think about the enemy and the walk with Christ. And one of the things about the enemy or the devil, is he's not sorry. Every attack that has came against you, every plot of the enemy, anything that he gets to succeed, he's not guilty about and he isn't sorry for. In fact, he's happy to succeed. And there's a comfort in that. See, that's why I can't stand someone who starts feeling guilty and begin to apologize. There's no comfort in that because it mixes the waters and it puts you back in the position of it's your decision on how things are going to play out. So someone literally had the power to throw you under the bus, but then they give you back the power because the guilt has overcome them. And this leads us right into forgiveness. And I didn't even know this is how we were going to get there today, but it truly is the reason that man, not just a man, but man as in man and woman as in, humans. The reason that guilt begins to pile up against us is because even at a very basic level, we need forgiveness in our life. And obviously, there is forgiveness from the Lord, but there's also supposed to be forgiveness between one another. And I think as I think about the situation more and more, that is the root of that guilt is you want to be forgiven for the wrong thing you did. But at the same time, just because you want to be forgiven doesn't mean you deserve forgiveness. And I think that's also where sometimes you can get stuck because you feel guilty. You're like, well, I mean, can you forgive me for just forgive me? Because in that way it can become another manipulation. You can't manipulate someone into forgiving you and believe all things are fine. Forgiveness has to come from the individual who was harmed, right? And when's the last time you thought about do you need to forgive? I think that's one of those heart searches that we definitely avoid. I know I do. I'm not going out of my way to see is there someone I need to forgive, but I should. But I should. And that's something that I think I mean, I'm blowing my own mind with these thoughts right now. That is something that is so not like me, not in my nature to just think what wrongs am I holding in my heart that is preventing my growth that if I would forgive and move on, I could get back into obedience. Think about that for a second. I mean, one of the things, and we actually had a similar conversation in Wednesday. We do Wisdom Wednesdays at my church, and so one of the things we actually talked about was forgiveness. And one of the things that even in that discussion became so evident to me is when we're holding this unforgiveness against others, we're literally picking up a weight that is holding us down. but it's in our hands. It's literally our choice to let go of the weight so that we can rise back to where we're meant to be in life. But it's so easy. So easy to be walking around in unforgiveness and carrying a burden that was never yours to carry to begin with. So yeah, where is our posture where we are searching? Is there anyone or even ourselves? Is there unforgiveness in my heart right now, Lord? What is what is going on in my heart right now, Lord, that is preventing me from growing and being obedient? That is good stuff. Man, I didn't expect this to be in my episode today. I was going to go on a rant and a tangent, and then hope that I could somehow turn it around and give us an up for the end. But no, this is good stuff. Forgiveness. I went ahead and pulled some scriptures. Matthew 6:14. For if you forgive other people when they sin against you, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. And boom, that's where it is, right? When I was saying there's that weight that you're carrying, that weight is not just your unforgiveness for them, it's the Lord's unforgiveness for you, because you're already unworthy of the forgiveness the Father has given. You're already unworthy. So who are you to hold someone unworthy of your forgiveness when you're not even forgivable? You're truly not. In fact, if it hadn't been for Christ who died for me, and I know that's such a easy thing to say, Tyler. I mean, it's such a basic concept. Is it? Because even if it's elementary in the concept, it's so easy to be walking in life and forget the very basic levels. You know, sometimes I find as Christians, especially when we start getting real churchy, we get so into the process of wanting to be this deep next level thing that we are forgetting the very basic principles, the very basic teachings, the very beginnings of the Lord's love for us. And we all do it. It's not something that just me or people you know or people I know fall into. We all do it. And part of that is rooted in that unforgiveness you have for others. Because as long as you continue to carry that weight, it's weighing you down from seeing you're wrong. I mean, it's that simple, guys. It's just and look, I'm not claiming to be perfect. I'm not. Far from it most days. You know, each day, as Paul would say, I have to crucify my flesh. And honestly, guys, I'm not even good at doing that every day. I'm not. It would be so easy to sit here and lie and say I am just, I'm living out the word, and I'm living this Christian life, and I'm doing it all exactly as I should. When in reality, I, I am still in a flesh body. There are still things that you have to overcome. And it is a daily walk, which means that you have to walk it out your whole life. And that's okay. Just because you're walking out your salvation doesn't mean that you're not worthy of your salvation. I don't even know how we got on that, guys. But man, uh, I tell you, one of the things, and this is a personal self reflection too. I've kind of started to learn sometimes when you have those people who have betrayed you in some way, or they've tried to have an attack or place themselves above you, whatever it may be, and it looks different for each situation. But I've learned sometimes the reason those people bother you aren't because their actions are inherently terrible or they're just worse than anyone you've ever encountered. Sometimes you actually see all the parts of yourself you don't like in that person. And it's so much easier to put that blame and to some degrees even a hatred towards someone who exhibits the habits of yourself that you don't like. And sometimes you find that it's easier to blame the faults that you both share on that person than it is to take accountability and say, you know what, Tyler, I don't like how in certain situations you react this way, or I don't like how you find it acceptable behavior to continue doing this or to do that or whatever it may be. And I'm being pretty vague here because I want it to be able to apply to you. I can't speak on what it is for you, but you know, there's all things that I think we can, if we self-reflect, which has been big for us here lately, we all have things that we are unhappy with ourselves for. And some of it are areas we want to improve. And sometimes it is places where we doubt ourselves. Right. So sometimes the reason that you can't stand the way your coworker or your friend or just someone you know reacts in certain areas is because that's how you react, and you have so much you have so much doubt in yourself, and you can't imagine seeing the parts of you that you don't like in someone else and them being okay with it. And so what you're doing is you're pushing your own thoughts about yourself off on them instead of doing a self-reflection so that you can grow in yourself. Whether that is recognizing that that is an issue you need to change and you need to grow from and mature so you can grow out of it, or it's a behavior that actually isn't that bad and you need to become more loving and respectful of yourself. Because what I'm beginning to learn as I get older is sometimes the things we don't like in other people that we do, it's not because it's inherently bad. It's not because it's something that shouldn't be done. It's because we don't approve of ourselves and we don't love ourselves enough that any part of ourselves that we have doubt in or we don't believe in or we hate that we see in another, we have to attack in the same way. The only difference is one's a deflection, the other you work on you. Which brings us back to forgiveness. You have to forgive yourself. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself for being who you are. And who you are today isn't necessarily who you will be tomorrow, but you have to give yourself your own grace. Because we all fall short. And that's not just in your walk with God, that's at your job, that's with your family, your children, your spouse, your friends. We all fall short in every area of our life at some point. But the good news is it's okay. One of the quotes that I enjoy the most from one of my professors from college in a restorative justice class is sometimes you have to remember it's not always you did a bad thing and you're terrible. Sometimes it is you did a bad thing, but you're still a good person. And so with that, guys, that's all I have for you this week. I can't wait to see you next week. Who knows what we'll talk about? Everyone knows I get inspired on a Tuesday or Wednesday, film on a Thursday, and then if you're lucky, you have an okay edited video on Friday. Guys, have a great weekend. If you go to church on Sunday. If you're in the Springfield area, I invite you to Eagle Heights Worship Center. If you're not in Springfield, you can actually watch our live stream as well. Other than that, have a good one. I'll see you next time.